guys! Today I'm going to review The Spy Who Loved Me.
It's the biggest, it's the best, it's Bond. And beyond.
The Spy Who Loved Me came out in 1977, nearly 3 years since the last Bond film, The Man with the Golden Gun. It's the third Bond film to star Roger Moore, who would do 7 Bond films altogether. It's also the 10th Bond film. Ian Fleming only allowed the title of the book to be used, not the storyline. It was directed by Gilbert, who would do 3 Bond films altogether. You Only Live Twice from 1967, The Spy Who Loved Me from 1977, and Moonraker from 1979. It was edited by Glen, who would later direct 5 Bond films from the 1980s. Music was by Mervyn Hamlish, and the title song was sung by Carly Simon. The song was called Nobody Does It Better, and is one of the most memorable of the Bond songs. The film runs 125 minutes. It cost $13.5 million to make. However, it was a massive success. It made back $185.4 million. The film needed to be a success after The Man with the Golden Gun was a disappointment at the box office. The locations of the film were Egypt, Italy, the Bahamas, and a new soundstage was made at Pinewood Studios. This would feature the massive set of the interior of the supertanker, created by Ken Adams. The film was nominated for 3 Academy Awards: Best Art Direction, Best Original Score, and Best Original Song. In the screenplay, Spector was considered to return, as well as Blofeld. However, this was changed. Harry Saltzman sold half of the franchise, so Cubby was on his own when he made this film. The film stars Roger Moore, Barbara Bach, Curt Jürgens, Richard Kiel, Caroline Munro, Bernard Lee, Lewis Maxwell, Desmond Llewellyn. So in this film, James Bond teams up with a Russian female agent to stop a villain called Stromberg. He's pinched these nuclear missiles and he's going to create a third world war. And while the world gets destroyed, he's wanting to live under the sea. So he's made a civilization under the sea, with him in charge. Eh? Blowing the bloody world up and living under the bloody sea? I've heard now it's a bloody daft. Something that bloody Putin would do. Hey, Bones don't put ideas into his head. So the plot is a little bit far-fetched. However, this is one of the best Bond films ever made. It starts off with one of the best stunts ever. In the pre-title sequence, you see Bond on skis getting chased, and it looks really good, especially with the music accompanying the action. Then you see Bond ski off a cliff, and then his parachute comes up with the Union Jack on. And the reason why it's such a brilliant scene is because there was no CGI in them days. It was a proper stuntman risking his life. It's beautifully shot, and you also see the ski graze past his parachute, and if that ski had touched his parachute, it would have killed him. Eon executive Charles Giroux said that at a screening attended by Prince Charles during the Union Jack parachute scene, I have never seen a reaction in the cinema as there was that night. You couldn't help it. You could not help but stand up. Even Prince Charles stood up.
We picked a good day for the world premiere of The Spy Who Loved Me, July 7th, 1977, 7777.
And I actually got goosebumps watching it on the Blu-ray, even though I've seen the film countless times. It's a brilliant scene. However, the Blu-ray does make the model work in the film look a little bit false. So when you see some of the underwater footage, you can tell the models because the Blu-ray is so clear. When I'm watching a Bond film, I always look forward to watching the title sequence. Maurice Binder did a great job on this. I especially like the funny bit where Bond pushes this row of women over. And of course, Kylie Simon, who sings the title song, Nobody Does It Better. That's one of the most iconic Bond songs ever. And it almost got an Academy Award, but it lost out to You Light Up My Life. Roger Moore always said this was his favourite Bond film. And I think the reason why it's so good is the way it's shot. When a film's always successful, it's always the director who gets the praise. But in this case, it's deserved. I think Lewis Gilbert did a fantastic job on it. The use of location and lighting is perfectly done. For instance, the scene on the boat. It's beautifully shot, that sequence. Another clever thing that he does is the use of sound. He does sequences where there's no sound at all, and then all of a sudden a burst of music or a sound effect. It jolts you. So it's very effective, that, how he does that. It's almost like he's waking the audience up. The 3 Bond films that he's done, all 3 look epic. You Only Live Twice looks epic, with especially the volcano set at the end. And Moonraker's epic, with the storyline being set in space. And he gets the most out of the massive set at the end of this film. Does a lot of shots that are lower, looking upwards, to make the set even bigger. So there's beautiful lighting in this film. Roger Moore gives one of his best performances. This and his performance in For Your Eyes Only are his 2 best Bond performances. And with this one he gets the balance right. He's not too silly, like too humorous, or he's not too over serious. He gets it just right, humour and seriousness. The scene where he's talking about his deceased wife, that's brilliant, that. In that scene you can tell he's upset, talking about his wife that got killed on Her Majesty's Secret Service. That's also great continuity.
Many lady friends, but married only once. Wife killed.
All right, you've made your point.
You're sensitive, Mr. Bond.
About certain things, yes.
He can also be brutal. There's a brilliant scene where he flicks his tie away and a henchman falls off a building that's clinging onto his tie. And he's also got some brilliant funny lines.
All those feathers and he still can't fly.
And Roger Moore was 49 when he made this film, so he was almost 50, but he's in great shape for an almost 50-year-old. Barbara Backer's brilliant as well in this. I used to think she was a bit wooden until I watched it this time, and I was really surprised by how good she is. And she also has great chemistry with Roger Moore. There's some brilliant scenes with them 2 together.
Hey, Phil, I wish I could keep the bloody British end up here.
Yeah, me too, Bones. Curt Jürgens is brilliant as well as a villain. He's got a sinister stare in his eyes. And there's a subtle effect with his hands as well. You can say like a fin between his thumb and finger. The character of Jaws is more menacing in this film. In Moonraker he was treated a bit too much of a comic character. But in this one there's some menacing scenes. He bites the neck. Kills 2 men in this film, and the brutal scenes. You don't actually see him bite the neck, that's done off cam, although you do see a bit of blood on the collar. Sexy Caroline Munro pops up in this as well, trying to shoot Bond from a helicopter. The regulars are on form as well, MQ and Moneypenny. However, Moneypenny doesn't seem to have much to do in this one. Q's funny in his workshop, showing gadgets getting made. That's like a traditional scene that Bond films seem to have. And I thought Emma's particularly good at this. A few scenes with him in. So they actually did a novelisation of the movie as well. The novelisation was done by Christopher Wood in 1978. But he changed the storyline a bit. There's totally new scenes in the novelisation. A strange one where James Bond's getting tortured and they're putting electrodes on his testicles. And it's quite a brutal scene actually. It's done seriously.
Ye fancy bloody electrocuting bloody Bond's bollocks. Hey Phil, if they filmed that bloody scene in the film, I bet bloody Roger Moore's eyebrows would fucking shoot up then.
So this movie has some brilliant scenes. I love the car chase. There's helicopters chasing it. There's a bike chasing the car. It goes under the water and there's submarine vehicles chasing the car. And the car features in some great publicity photos that were took to promote the film, where Roger Moore and Barbara Bach are sitting on the Lotus, the bonnet. I thought them photos looked brilliant. And of course Ken Adams did some brilliant sets. And I love the final set with the submarines. There was also a behind-the-scenes making documentary during the film They were doing like a documentary about it.
Theatre meant to transport the audience to the gods, which meant you let them see heaven. I wait until my bank manager says that the funds have dwindled, and then I look for another film.
So overall, I thought this film was a Bond masterpiece. It's probably in my top 3 Bond films, just behind Casino Royale and On Her Majesty's Secret Service, just above some of the Connery classics. And the reason is it's a beautiful film to look at, and it's just an enjoyable couple of hours entertainment. So out of 10, I'm going to give this one 10, 11. 11 out of 10. What did you think, Bones? Did you like it?
Top marks, Phil. Nobody did it better than Roger Moore.
Okay, everybody, like, subscribe and share. Bye. Bye.
.007 Triple X. Bond, what do you think you're doing?
Keeping the British end up, sir.
Nobody does it better.